So I was just thinking about how it's going to be here to be on this stage. And I realized this reminded me of my fight. The cage door just closed. Actually, yeah, it was. I would rather get punched in the face right now. Uh, Guys, there have been a lot of speakers talking about art. Uh, we are artists as well, just in a different format. Let me show you a video which kind of explains the art that we talk about. Yeah, love to see the expressions on everyone's faces. Guys, this is mixed martial arts, popularly known as MMA. Basically, mixed martial arts is a very informal fighting system. It's not a traditional martial arts. It kind of takes techniques that are practical and puts it together in, like I said, like a fighting system. What we do is, we train in several martial arts, pick up what suits us, and then we train, to be mixed martial art fighters. I'm Jitendra Khare. I'm the head coach and founder of Team Relentless, and I'm a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Just to give you all a background, like most kids, when I was in school, I started learning karate. Post that, I dabbled in a lot of martial arts like boxing and judo and wrestling, or kushti as we know it. Then the saddest thing happened to me, I grew up. With growing up, comes the part where after you pass 12th, and if you're a science student, I'm sure you all have been through this. If you were born in 70s and lived through 80s and 90s, you're given two choices. Either you're going to be in medical stream, or you're going to be in engineering stream. Or as my parents put it, there's a third choice. You can be a clerk in some office. I mean, those were the only things available. And at that point, I took the cheapest option, and at that point, I became an engineer. I've done my diploma in aircraft maintenance engineering, worked with an airlines for a year, and I was like, I don't think this is what I want to do. Quit that job. For the next 2 or 3 years, dabbled with a lot of professions, went from being a salesman to an assistant director in a movie business as well. After that, I've always been a sportsman, and somebody told me, why don't you try, working as a trainer? Joined the health and fitness industry, started training people, started enjoying that. But when you look at 90s, that wasn't a financially rewarding thing. And everyone kept telling me, you're educated, why are you doing this? And I was like, yeah, that's very true. And against my will, I joined a corporate for a nice fat paycheck, and I worked for 8 years. We all know that one bad friend who puts that seed in your head of a bad idea. In 2010, one of my friends contacted me and said, listen, we've been doing martial arts forever. Let's start a, martial arts academy. And I was like, okay, I don't mind, I'll do that. But I'm not going to do this full time. I mean, it's a good hobby. I can't give up a comfort zone. I mean, I get a paycheck every month. I've got a family to take care of. I'm not going to do this every month. So, started the MMA studio, and everything was good. The deeper I got into training, I realized what was happening was, I was doing my job on the mats, and when I reached office, I was normally sleeping through meetings. So I realized it's not going to work. I can't do this. In 2012, I said, I looked back and I was like, do I really want to keep doing this for the rest of my life? And I was like, no. With my son who was just born, like he was 3 months old, I took the decision of quitting a corporate job with a nice paycheck and jumping into this headlong, because at that point I realized that if I don't do it, there's not going to be anybody else that's going to look after my team of fighters, or for that matter, even look at promoting this sport in the country. So I took that step, and here I am 7 years down. In 2018, I came up with one more brilliant idea. I was like, I'm 39. I'm going to take up my first MMA fight. I'll show you all how that went, guys. Just FYI, guys, I'm the guy in the red short who just got dropped on his head.
So it actually takes two mad people to do something different, right? Hi, my name is Preksha. I'm the co-founder of X1 International and manager of Team Relentless, India's premier mixed martial arts and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fight team. I basically love two things, music and sports. I'm a nutrition and dietetics graduate, a Nike certified trainer, a radio jockey, and I strategize music for radio stations. Now in all this, how did mixed martial arts happen it's a big question. So like every nutrition graduate, they either work with a hospital or we work with fitness centers. So I worked with a fitness center. I started my career somewhere in 1995. 1997, All India Radio contacted me to do a show on obesity, a talk show on radio on obesity. I said, okay, let's try this. And they said, you know what, you've got a nice voice. Why don't you try RJE? So I said, okay, that sounds interesting too. And that was my major career shift, number one major career shift that happened, that I moved to radio. I joined India's leading radio station, Radio City 91.1 FM, as a radio jockey and a national music manager. Now, everything was fine, everything was going okay, and then I decided to have my baby. And I was quite clear that once my baby is there, I am going to cut down on my working hours. So from a full-time employee, I moved on to being a consultant. A few years, it was okay, but then things really didn't pan out the way I had planned, so I left my job. Believe me, it was really, really difficult because I had served that organization for 11 years. Ab next kya? That was the biggest question. You know what? In India, every time, you become a mother, HR departments of most offices think that, when you're going to be at work, you're going to be thinking about your baby all the time. My point is, if I wanted to be with my baby all the time, I would be sitting at home, not at work, thinking about my baby. So every interview I appeared for had a problem with me being a mom. Anyway, after that, I said, okay, let me do something different. So I started connecting with all my friends, and that's when I reconnected with Jitendra Khare. I went to his fitness center. I started learning kickboxing, Muay Thai, and I really, really enjoyed it. On the mat over there, I see a 23-year-old girl called, her name is Akshata Khartare. By the way, she just won a bronze medal at the World Championship that happened last month. Now this girl, all of probably 52 kilos, the only girl amongst 20 other male athletes on the mat, whooping their backsides, left, right, and center. And I'm sure Palash can, agree with that. So that's when I asked Jitendra that how many such girls or women are there in India, athletes, who are so interested in taking mixed martial arts as a career? Can we put together a fight card which features only women athletes? And he was like, why not? Let's try. So then we start scouting for talent. And to my surprise, we have enough and more talent, especially women and girls who want to dabble in mixed martial arts. Okay, so we start planning our first women's fight night. And I thought, chalo, let's do it on International Women's Day. We start looking for sponsorship. And I thought women-centric brands to aa hi jayenge. I mean, they'll lap up to this idea. I mean, it's a nice new idea. But you know what? I was wrong. Because most brands see only cricket and football as a sport. Nothing beyond that. I said, chalo, anyway, parallelly, let me start looking for a venue for this. And again, I thought I had a brilliant idea, which is to approach sports club. I mean, simple, right? Sports club. I want to do a sports event. They would again lap up the idea. But I was wrong. They want to do more of Bollywood nights and bar nights. And when I went with my proposal to them, मुझे ऐसा लगा कि मैं गवर्नमेंट के लिए ना ऐसा कोई करोड़ों का टेंडर डालने जा रही हूँ. Committee, subcommittee, president, vice president. I mean, such a long process. That was still okay. But what irked me, what irritated me, were the questions that were asked to me. Questions like, हमें उन athletes के photographs दिखाइए. मोटी है क्या? पतली है? You know, ours is a very prestigious club. And I'm talking about Bombay City. Ours is a very prestigious club, all our members, want proper entertainment. Do they even know how to punch? ऐसा करते हैं ना, कुछ fights choreograph कर देते हैं. Let's just fake it. Or then, why don't we do one thing? Just have the last 2 fights as, male fights, so that it's pakka entertainment. My reaction was, why? Why would I change my format? तुम्हारी गंदी और वाहियात सोच के लिए मैं अपना format क्यों change करूं? And this is what you think about women. You actually talking to a woman about other women in such a demeaning manner. It's not happening. It's really not happening. After all the struggles, we finally put together our first women's fight night on 11th of March with the help of our friends, Jaideep and Sheetal Ghia. And here are a few glimpses of it. So yeah, I mean, that's what girl power is all about. And mind you, these girls train like at least 3 to 4 hours a day, And I want to especially mention about this girl who is, can you switch off the light, please? Okay, so this is Man Komal Kaur from Chandigarh. The little baby that you see on her lap is her baby, probably 1 year old or 1.5 years old. She won the fight twice. She fought. She won her trophy in her weight category. Now really imagine this, and believe me, it's not exaggeration. She's sitting with her baby on her lap. Her name has been called out. She hands over her baby to the father, wears her gum shields, gets into the cage, and does what she has to do. And twice, not just once, twice she did that. And then there is Reshma Sakpal. Her 7-year-old daughter is cheering away in the crowd, and she also obviously wins her way to victory. Believe me, it was one hell of a night to see girl power and the way these girls really performed. We may not have got sponsors, but we did get a lot of recognition from the World MMA Association and a lot of blogs in Southeast Asia. Now, after the first event, we said, okay, let's start planning the second one. And we did that in your very own city, Pune, at High Spirits Cafe, Koregaon Park. Now, for me, I turned 45 last month. My son Nirvan is 8 years old now. With every passing day, I just feel so confident. And I want to tell you, all you girls sitting around over here, that no matter what your age is, please do not get influenced by what the society expects you to do. Or, for that matter, your family and friends feel what role you should be playing. Or reach 40 and then say, oh, maine to kuch kiya nahi. What the hell did I do with my life? And if you've touched 40 and crossed 40, it's not late yet. Rediscover yourself. Pursue your passion. Just don't give up. Just enjoy life. And the next challenge for me is to create awareness of kids BJJ. That's Kids Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I am approaching schools and trying to convince them to make it a part of their curriculum. And requesting them to see beyond the regular and normal sports. Thank you.
One thing that she didn't mention to you is she's also a fighter, right? Guys, just a thought. Listening to everybody speak today, and this is something that this is a thought that I have always dabbled with. Everyone here is a fighter. We are all fighters at the end of the day. Our battlefields are different. Some of us fight in the cage. Some of us fight in the classrooms. Some of us fight in boardrooms. Some of us fight at home. Our battlefields are different, but not our fights. We all have our fights. We all are fighters, right? I mean, think about it. Fighting is one of the most primitive instincts. And so there's this very famous saying by a samurai. His name was Miyamoto Musashi. He says, the approach to combat and everyday life should be the same. Basically, what this means is, fighting reveals character. Okay. Now, just humor me for some time, right? I'm going to say this. what I learned through my life and in fighting is that fighting is not very different from life. It's not. You know, we all have our pressures. We all have our everyday struggles. Fighting reveals character, how we react to those pressures, how we react to those struggles. Do we run away from them? Do we avoid them? Or do we turn back and in our fighting terms we say, bite down on your gum shield, put your guard up and fight, right? I'll give you a small incident. This is a personal story. I'm sorry, I'm going to be selfish here and talk about my life because, you know, that's what I said. I think life and fight is very similar. About 3 years back, I had spent about 5 years coaching a team of about 8 to 9 fighters. I gave up a career where I was getting paid well. And we all know, I'm not even going to get into the struggles that an athlete faces in our country. We all know that, we've heard that, we've read that so many times. It came to a point where I knew that if I need to promote the sport and these athletes, I need to take them global, I need to put in that money. I burned through my personal savings. I spent time, energy, you know, emotions in preparing these athletes. And 3 years ago, a couple of them started questioning my credibility. Their point was, yeah, you are our coach, great. But you're asking us to do things that we cannot. I mean, we are fighters. At the end of the day, we get in the cage and fight, not you. That point, that ego of that competitor in me got hurt. And I was like, I just have to prove these guys wrong, right? And I was like, all right, I'm going to take up a fight. I'm going to fight and I'm going to show these guys that they are wrong. And I got really carried away, and at that point I was 140 kgs and I went and I called up a promoter in Malaysia and I was like, okay, I'm taking up a fight. And the guy was like, oh great, 3 months, you're fighting. And what happened is, as I started getting ready, as I started preparing for my fight, my motivation started going down. And at that point I realized that I was being motivated by the wrong thing, right? I was telling myself, I have to do this. When I say I have to do it, that means it's an external motivation. It was not me being internally motivated to do this. And at that point, I asked myself, do I really need to prove myself to people, or do I need to do this for myself? And that motivation shifted to I want to. Right? The moment I started telling myself I want to, I got disciplined. I took a year and a half. I lost like 50 kgs. That's me in a year and a half. And I got into the best shape of my life, and I took up my fight, right? And at that point, you know, just to show you all, I know my time is ending and I need to be quick about this, but I lost my first round. So when you saw me getting dropped on my head, that was my first round. And I went back to my corner and I told my coach, I think I'm done, right? I can't do this. And then I was like, okay, I've traveled to Malaysia, I've spent so much time. Let me do one more round. I did one more round. I won that round. And I was like, all right, I can do this. This is how my last round ended. Right. Yeah, I needed to show you that just for my ego as well. But apart of that, guys, yeah, I lost this fight. I lost this fight. It was a very close fight. I lost this by a split decision. For guys that know, basically 2 judges voted for my opponent and 1 voted for me. But believe me, guys, that was the most exciting 11 minutes of my life. And at that point, I realized that my motivation changed from I have to or I want to now I get to. Today, I feel blessed. I feel blessed that I'm one of those few people that get to do what they really love to do. Right? There were times when I wanted to quit because there was a fear of failing in public. There were people that wanted me to lose. But I asked myself, would I have taken this fight if nobody was watching? And the answer was yes. And I was like, right, then I'm going to take this fight. Right? Once again, guys, we all have issues. We all face problems. Every day is a struggle. Ask yourself, are you doing something that you have to? Are you doing something that you want to? Or are you doing it because you get to? Because you're blessed? would you be at this moment anywhere else in the world rather than doing what you love doing? The last question that I would like to ask each and every one of you, that you should ask yourself, is, what do you fight for? Right? In my 9 years of being in this line, what I have fought for every single day is a legacy. I want to leave something behind which is not just money or property for my child. That's my 8-year-old son. His name is Aryan. 2 months back, I promoted him to a grey belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's been training with me since he was 4 years old. 2 months ago, he competed in Malaysia, became the first, I think the first Indian child to ever compete in an international competition and win a bronze medal. A very emotional moment for me. All the 9 years of struggle and everything, that picture justifies everything that I did. So guys, all that I'll leave you with, like ma'am here said, follow your passion. Thank you.
Thank you.